have 3 different Epiphone models here with me today, and each one of them has a unique labeling. We have a Masterbuilt, an Inspired by Gibson Custom, and a Limited Edition Custom Shop. In this video, we're going to discuss the difference between all 3 of them and hear what they sound like. We're going to start with the oldest one in my collection, which is this Limited Edition Custom Shop ES339 by Epiphone. It seems as if Limited Edition Custom Shops was in like the early 2010s. This model specifically, I believe, is from 2011. And what a Limited Edition Custom Shop Epiphone actually is just a limited run. Now, a limited run could be a unique color, it could be unique hardware. Something about it was different than their normal productions. However, it's not necessarily limited either. They could have made one of them and they could have made a million of them. They just kind of make them until the market dries up. So at the end of the day, limited edition custom shop kind of means nothing. However, I want to talk about this specific guitar for a second. Now, even though this guitar might have a badge that doesn't really mean much, this guitar is kind of special. And the reason I'm saying that is because how it plays, how it sounds. It's just really well done. Now, it's hard to say what this guitar originally looked like because I'm not the original owner of this instrument. So when I got it, there was already a Bigsby on this guitar. I did not install that, and it's not factory because there's little holes where the original tailpiece used to be. Additionally, I have gone ahead and changed out the pickups. I don't remember what was in there, but I remember not feeling completely satisfied with them, so I put Seymour Duncan Antiquities in here. And now this guitar screams. Additionally, there are 2 coil taps on this guitar, and I'm pretty sure that was stock. That's not something I added. We just configured the new pickups with that additionally. And lastly, I've switched out the strap buttons to be D'Addario locking strap locks. That's what I use on all of my guitars. But now, let's hear what this sounds like. Next, we have the Epiphone Excelente Masterbuilt. I was not familiar with the Masterbuilt series at all, but this guitar looks and, more importantly, sounds amazing. It wasn't until after I purchased it and looked in the sound hole and started doing some research that I was like, Masterbuilt Epiphone, what does that mean and what does that look like? Now, the Masterbuilt series is Gibson and Epiphone's attempt to revitalize classic 60s acoustic guitars. They make 3 different models, each one being more legendary than the last. First, you have the Epiphone Excelente. Next, you have the Epiphone Frontier. And finally, you have the Epiphone Texan. Now, I can't speak to the level of detail and quality on all 3 models, but I can on the Excelente. And it is outstanding. This guitar has a solid spruce top with solid ovincoal back and sides, as well as a 7-piece walnut maple neck and an ebony fretboard with pearl cloud inlays. Also, it has a bone nut and saddle, as well as classic Klusen waffleback tuners. Last but not least, it has 6-piece binding all around the front, back, and the neck. So they put a lot of thought and effort into building and manufacturing this guitar, and it is certainly worth its price. Now, the original Excelente was built from 1963 to 1970, and in that time, only 139 guitars were ever built, making this one of the rarest Epiphone models ever produced. Now, before we move on to our final guitar, let's hear the Excelente. Now, last but not least, we have the Inspired by Gibson Custom, which is a newer addition to the Epiphone lineup. Now, this is the 1958 Carina Flying V, and this is the 58 Carina Explorer. And I have to say, these guitars impress the hell out of me. They are fantastic. I can't believe that they're only, what, $1,500 and made overseas by Epiphone. Now, these guitars were made in partnership with Gibson Custom to make accurate recreations of famous Gibson products. Now, there's no doubt that Gibson Custom has gone on to create some of the most sought after and iconic guitars in music history. And now with Epiphone, you have the opportunity to own some of that at a much more affordable price point. Now let's first talk about the Flying V. Like I mentioned, this is based off the original 1958 Flying V, which only 81 of those were shipped out of the Gibson factory at that time. This guitar is completely solid carina with a 2-piece body and a 1-piece neck. It has Gibson burst buckers 2 and 3, again with CTS pots and Switchcraft jack and switch. But let's talk about this on a more personal level. This thing is amazing. It plays very well. It sounds great. I truly love the 58 style with the rubber inlay, as well as like the gaudy headstock. I love that badge. I think that's so cool. And my favorite Vs are the 58 style because of the string through construction and these other appointments that I've already mentioned. And the great thing about this carina is it's so freaking light. Like, this guitar is just, it's crazy how light and easy it is to play. Now, if we move on to the Explorer, you'll find a lot of the same appointments. It is all carina, solid, 2-piece body, 1-piece neck. Same deal with the pickups and the Switchcraft, but this guitar is a little bit more chunky in the neck, which I kind of like this neck a little bit better. However, it's still just as light of a guitar as the V, which is fantastic, especially with how big Explorers can get. And you, again, have a true Gibson headstock, which I really like, and I'm excited to see on more Epiphone models because I like the Gibson headstocks. I think they're really cool. My least favorite thing about Epiphones is the headstocks, which that's merely cosmetic. It's not that big of a deal, but I think the Epiphone headstocks are kind of doofy, where the Gibson headstocks, that open book, is so iconic and so fantastic. Another really cool thing about these guitars is actually they recreated the original cases that the 1958 series came in originally. That was a really cool touch and really adds a lot to the presentation of these models. Now let's get a quick demo of these guitars, but if you'd like a full review and demo of the Flying V or the Explorer, I have full reviews on my channel.